We know from years of doing this work that domestic violence escalates during a crisis. Certainly the COVID-19 pandemic is a crisis. Because of this epidemic and the directive to shelter in place, it has increased incidents of domestic violence in the community.
COVID has really created the perfect storm for perpetrators.
While the majority of the world has been recommended to stay at home and to avoid public spaces, for victims of domestic violence that may not be so safe. Individuals, victims who are at home, isolated away from their families, afraid to go outside, because of COVID, afraid to seek help, in close proximity to a perpetrator of violence, may not be able to actually call for help.
We heard about a significant number of victims of domestic violence in the community that needed our services but couldn't even make a phone call on the hotline because they were afraid that they would be overheard by their perpetrator.
We needed to figure out very quickly how we were going to provide information around how they could seek safety. And one of the first things we did was look at our call centers in New York State, the New York State hotline. Instead of relying so heavily on telephones, they created chats. So individuals could sort of text and chat with hotline advocates.
We were very intentional about making sure that we spoke about this in various media forms, social media, news media outlets. We were still here, and that we had services available and we had beds available in shelter. We really thought about the way that we were engaging with our clients. So of course, trying to maintain social distancing.
We reduced the number of in-person gatherings that we had, so our groups became virtual online groups. Our staff did daily check-ins on the phone with all of our clients just to see how we were doing. We wanted to make sure that people had access to supplies and food, so our frontline staff were out in the community shopping and getting essential equipment and supplies for our clients who may have had to quarantine if they were experiencing symptoms of COVID.
COVID really allowed us to see our workers and their sacrifices up front.
We had people literally quarantining on site for 14 days, staying in the facility with our clients because we had a client test positive. You know, I mean, it's real, the sacrifices were amazing.
We have always had our doors open throughout this experience, and that means that our staff in our domestic violence shelters are essential emergency employees. Our shelters are 24 hours open. There are day shifts, there are overnight shifts, there are evening shifts.
So that means our workers had to physically leave their homes to go into one of our residential environments, one of our shelters, to provide care for someone else. And in leaving their home, they were increasing their risk to contract COVID. You know, this is a novel virus. We didn't have a lot of information on it, and people were getting sick, and it was disproportionately impacting the Black and brown community.
Our staff have been trained and are used to operating in crisis. But this crisis was new and frightening and intimidating.
Things seemed unsafe, but yet everyone, and I do mean everyone, continued to come in. They were passionate, they had a lot of drive.
At the end of the day, I am so proud and privileged to be able to work with a team who has gone above and beyond, often putting the needs of our clients above their own personal needs.
Our strong and brave staff members, they're almost the silent heroes that we want to bring out of the shadows into the light and celebrate all that they have done. From our case managers, to our program directors, to our social workers, to our maintenance workers.
We're talking about our recreation specialists and our child care workers, security monitors.
Waiting on corners for buses, getting on overcrowded trains, being infected themselves.
We had staff members who died. We had staff members whose family members died, who kept coming to work. Of course, they took the time to make sure that they were safe, but they kept coming to work to serve our clients. You know, they're not paramedics, doctors that you hear about, but they're frontline heroes. They're amazing people.